Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's podcast. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get right into the video.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another podcast. You know, these podcasts do not reach a wide variety of audiences, but the people that it does reach have really been giving me feedback on how they just love these podcasts and how they're really helping them in their daily walk with the Lord and just helping them understand a different sense of well-being in their life. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about fear. And I am a girl who knows a lot about the word fear and what fear has done in her life. Today I'm going to give you a little bit of a testimony and share with you how fear has impacted my life in many ways ever since I can remember. Fear is something that we all face. Everybody has faced fear in their life at one time or another. But there are some people like me who chronically have fear in their life. Panic attacks and anxiety is something I have lived with most of my life. And that is the root of fear. Fear is talked about in the Bible. In fact, fear is talked about 365 times in the Bible. It says to fear not. The Bible talks a lot about fear and how we are not to be fearful of things. But yet, being fearful is probably one of the biggest challenges that we face, especially today. Now, my mother, she faced fear. Fear was a big issue in her life. And being the youngest child, I was a sponge and I just soaked it all in. But being fearful in my life was something that it was inborn in me as well. I think back when I was 3 years old is when I first had a real glimpse of fear in my life, on a situation that I experienced. But let's talk about the here and now. So, in the beginning of our marriage, I was very fearful because I was always a stay-at-home mom. I never had a work career outside the home, and my education, wasn't the best. I only went to school to 11th grade. I never graduated. So my fear was always, what happened if something happened to my husband? What would I do? How would I support myself? I lived with that fear for many years until I became an influencer on YouTube and started having an influence in different aspects of my life on social media. I no longer had that fear anymore because I knew now there's ways, multiple ways, that I could make an income. And so I didn't have that fear. And then my husband, through different events in his own life, he's retired now. But then I had that fear of how am I going to continue my income at the level that I wanted it to be in order to do some things around our home that desperately needed fixed. I don't really need to say any more about that because people who have followed me on YouTube for all of these years can see the transition in our own home. And then I had fear of other things. Fear of what happens if this would happen in my life and what would happen if that would happen. What happens if I was no longer able to physically make all of these hundreds and hundreds of YouTube videos? What happens if physically I can no longer work on my other jobs online? What happens if we're at the end of the world? What happens then? What happens if everything that's been said online comes true and we have no more food on the grocery shelves? You see, fear affects everyone different. Fear is tailored to the individual, and what the individual watches or reads can really impact their life. Fear is different for every person. Now, most of you who are watching this video or listening to this video don't have the fear of having YouTube videos and wondering what they're going to do if YouTube would be shut down. But you have your own fears, maybe your own jobs you have, and what happens if you would lose that job, the what ifs, the hundreds and thousands of what ifs. But you see, the Lord tells us not to fear, and being unfearful is a big challenge that the Lord wants us to face, because when we have fear, we're not relying on Him. It took a while for that to sink in. So if I have fear, that means I am not relying on the Lord, and the fear is taking over my faith. See, faith is the substance of things not seen. And I have great faith in the Lord because He has changed my life in so many radical ways. I have seen firsthand miracles, complete miracles that are unexplainable to the human person. But to God, they're explainable because they're miracles. But yet, if I have all of this faith and I still have fear, then that means I'm not relying on the Lord. And one day, it all came to a head for me. This was not too long ago. And I said, Lord, take it. I am not holding on to it anymore. You are in control of everything. You see, when we put it in God's hands, He is in control of everything. We have no reason to fear because God is in control. Isaiah 41:10 says, So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I would uphold you in my righteous right hand. It's easier said than done, isn't it, though, my friends? Every once in a while, something will crop up in my life, and back again, I'm into fretting all about it. We are to give praise and total control of everything. Have faith like never before. If God is in control, there are no mistakes. Jesus talks a lot about fear. Psalms 27 of David, The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When evil men advance against me to devour my flesh, when my enemies and my foes attack me, they will stumble and fall. See, I've seen this happen. Literally, I have seen this happen. And that means God is in control of everything. Consider and hear me, O Lord my God. Lighten my eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death. Lest my enemy says, I have prevailed against him. And those that trouble me rejoice when I am moved. But I have trusted in thy mercy. My heart shall rejoice in thy salvation. Over and over and over again. Psalms, Proverbs, all the books of the Bible talk about having no fear. Every morning I wake up now and I say, God, you're in control. I give it all to you. That way, when something happens, it's given to God. I have no room in my mind and my heart to fear because fear freezes people. Fear keeps people from doing what God wants them to do. Fear keeps them bound up. And that's what Satan wants us to do. Satan wants us to have fear because when we have fear, we don't have the faith. And when we have fear, we are so bound up with struggles in our life that we are not able to do things for the glory of the Lord. So, my friends, what are you fearful today? What is something that nags at you at night when you go to bed and you cannot sleep? What do you feel that is just frightens you? Give it to God. It may even be something you think is rather silly, but give it to the Lord. The Lord finds nothing silly in your life, even if it's small things. My mom was deathly afraid of snakes, deathly afraid of them. And she would give it to the Lord and say, Lord, please take this fear from my heart. She would dream about them because of a situation she had when she was a little girl. What are you fearful today? Are you fearful about the news and all of the stuff and the drama that you hear? Is that creating fear in your life? I'm asking you today to give it to the Lord and have faith over fear. These podcasts I'm going to be sharing with you are more towards personal aspects of my life. I know these podcasts are not made for everyone, They're not designed for everyone. This isn't a try to rank it on YouTube type videos. In fact, none of mine are anymore. That was one thing I really gave up to the Lord. Just my whole YouTube channel is given to God. But I hope that you can find some sort of comfort in these videos. For me, they're nice once in a while because I'm able to share my heart without worrying about maybe what I look like or the background around me. I can just focus on what I feel like the Lord wants me to share. And I will continue to have these podcasts as long as one person watches them, because I know if one person watches them, then one person is probably helped. And that's what it's all about. I've been on YouTube a very long time. My times are running short probably on YouTube, and I want to finish my YouTube career, so to speak, with sharing once again my heart. I thank you so much for listening. This ends this podcast, and I can't wait to share with you tomorrow what I'm working on. Goodbye, everybody.